What up, everybody? Good morning and happy Thursday. DK Show up on the air on your radio dials, 105.1 FM, 790 AM. Coming to you from the TDS Sports Talk studios this morning. Also, check us out, stream it up at sportstalk1051.com. Your smart devices, you've got the Sports Talk app. Download that, take it on the go. Plus, the video streams that are up and rolling on Facebook, YouTube, X, Instagram, and Twitch this morning. All right. Again, big thanks for making us a part of your start here this morning. What do we got on our game plan for us? We got a few things we're gonna be chatting about here this morning. First off, Bucks are back at it for the first time since the All-Star break. So they'll be taking on the Clippers tonight. Possibly Giannis getting back in the lineup too, but it'll be a back-to-back for the Bucks because tomorrow night they'll be going up against old friend and old teammate Chris Middleton and the Wizards. But first things first, Bucks gotta take care of business against the Clippers tonight, and kind of the pseudo second half of this, even though it's over the halfway mark at this point, but now it's a race to the finish line and getting set for the postseason. Bucks currently sitting in that fifth spot in the Eastern Conference standings, one game back from Indiana for the fourth spot. You're looking at about 6.5 back from New York for the third overall seed. Bucks sitting there at 29 and 24 for the season. So we'll talk some hoops and such as the Bucks are back at it. Speaking of hoops, Blue Gold men's basketball picking up a win last night to secure the 3 seed for the WIAC tournament. That'll be on Monday at home too at the Sontag Center. So women's team had the lead at the half against 7th-ranked Oshkosh, but ultimately fell against Oshkosh. Both stout teams were up against points and fell last night to points. So, but what else we got? We're going to talk some baseball. I don't know how many of you have subscriptions to The Athletic and such. If you don't, well, we're going to break down this latest piece from national writer Ken Rosenthal for The Athletic. And for some of you Brewers fans who have an issue with Mark Attanasio, you may appreciate this piece. I'll just say the first kind of paragraph here. Brewers owner Mark Attanasio keeps getting away with it. His front office is that shrewd, his managers that skilled, his players that devoted to succeeding as underdogs. Yet, as Attanasio continues to clamp down on spending, his team's margin for error keeps shrinking. And if this is a season his frugality finally costs the Brewers, he will deserve some, if not most, of the blame. So you got one very well-respected national writer who has covered baseball for a long time. He's in your corner, Brewers fans, about wanting Mark Attanasio to be spending some more. We're going to go through some of the other stuff that Ken has in his piece, including some interesting reporting from some sources over there too that kind of go against what Mark said the other day in his presser about spent $5 million more this year. So yeah, I know Mark Attanasio has always kind of been a lightning rod of a topic for Brewers fans for the last few years here. He has had quite the interesting tenure, I think, as Brewers fans. It's changed because it's gone from, I think, appreciation from Brewers fans, a part of a winning culture that got back to the postseason. I mean, again, for crying out loud, when I was at 2011 Game 5, when they won against the Diamondbacks walk-off and they're celebrating on the field and everybody's so pumped up in the stands, one of the loudest cheers was when the camera put Mark Attanasio on the scoreboard. That got one of the loudest cheers. And it just felt like it was the fans saying, thank you. Thank you for putting this team together and for us getting back to the post and winning a postseason series. But after a few runs to the postseason and falling short, I think expectations have changed for Brewers fans in terms of they want a little bit higher. They want a little bit more. And I don't think that's wrong. But what are your views? If you haven't chimed in on this topic over the last year, couple years or so, what are your views of Brewers owner Mark Attanasio? We're going to talk about that coming up here in just a little bit. Football fans, if you are and a Packers fan, but if you wanted the Packers or your team to spend more in free agency this offseason, you got some good news yesterday. The salary cap has exploded. The NFL was informed that the salary cap will fall in the range of $277.5 million to $281.5 million. What does that mean, though, Dan? That means an increase from last year's $255.4 million. You're talking almost nearly, potentially almost 30, probably about 20 to 25 million dollars more than what it was last year. More cha-ching for Goody or whoever your favorite team is to go out there and spend on free agency. But will the Packers do it? Will they necessarily do that? We're going to talk about that coming up a little bit later on here as well. So we got that. We'll do a little game time with some receive or defer coming up around 7:45. We'll be catching up with Jake Boakes, our outdoor DNR warning buddy, Mr. Jake Boakes, coming up at about 8:30. So send over your questions now. Send over your questions now at 715-830-1912. 715-830-1912 on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line. Or you also can send it over on the video stream if you'd rather do that too. So, but get the Jake coming up at about 8:30. So sooner the better. The sooner the better you can get those on over. That way I can get them to Jake. So lots to get to here this morning. Let's jump right into it. I want to talk some Brewers as we continue talking with spring training underway, and we got our first game coming up on Saturday and such. And if you've been following online and on social media, you've probably seen the videos and clips of all the workouts and such. But I want to talk more about this piece from Ken Rosenthal and kind of calling out Mark Attanasio. And maybe for some of you Brewers fans who have been very vocal about your displeasure towards him, you're going to be like, preach to the choir, Ken. It's what we've been saying for a long time. You probably will like this piece. So we'll go through some of the interesting tidbits from this. But what are your views? And have they changed? Be honest. Like, have they changed? Have they changed from, early on 2000 teens, the 08 to 11 and such, when we finally got back to the postseason, we finally won a postseason series? Maybe you were pumped, excited, but have they changed over the course of his tenure, specifically the last few years? Be honest. It's okay. All right. Give me your thoughts. Give me your input. Hit me up. We'll take our first break, and then we'll get things a-rolling here this morning. Coming up on the leadoff, we'll talk some Brew Crew, talk some baseball. Sounds like we got some warmer weather, so we might as well talk about a warm weather sport. Stick around. We'll be back after these few words. Are you looking for some fresh, affordable? Are you looking for fresh, affordable, and convenient, I should say? You'll find it all at Hy-Vee in Eau Claire. From fresh produce to top quality meats and everything else in between, they make shopping easy. Do you need a quick dinner solution? Well, check out their delicious grab and go meals. Hosting a get together, their bakery and deli have got you covered. Plus, with weekly deals and friendly service, there's always more to love. And don't forget about their fuel savers that help you save at the gas pump. Shop smart, shop Hy-Vee. Don't forget, while you're at Hy-Vee, to grab yourself some Man Cave Lights and some Dan Good Burgers over there, too. G-Man, yes, G-Man, Monday, the AP poll came out, and the Badgers moved up to number 11 in the latest AP polls. They're the highest ranked Big Ten team in that poll. Also, Bucks will win tonight. Mark A, please spend some money because Brewers fans want to win the World Series. And that's where we're going to lead things off here this morning, is talking a little bit about this piece from Ken Rosenthal from The Athletic. Again, Ken Rosenthal, who has covered Major League Baseball for a long, long time, and very well respected in Major League Baseball. And for those of you Brewers fans who have been critical of Mark and maybe his inability or unwillingness, may be the best way to say it, to spend over these last few years, you'll probably like this piece from Ken Rosenthal on The Athletic. Again, I mean, just the first, this is how it opens up. I'm not going to read the whole thing to you. It's not going to be a story time or anything like that, but I wanted to highlight a few things that came from this piece. And then I'm genuinely curious to hear from you, Brewers fans, like your thoughts on Mark, but has it also changed during his tenure? Like, for example, maybe you were very happy with him, very appreciative of him, helping kind of build those teams that went to the postseason in 08, the 2011, maybe even throw in 2018 there when Stearns comes in and, they trade for Yelich and all that stuff. But maybe in the last few years, you've been frustrated with him. And so your opinion or your thoughts of him have changed. And that's fine. Or maybe you're still the same. Maybe you're satisfied with him because maybe you're just like, you know what? That's the landscape of Major League Baseball right now. It's a smaller market team that will never be able to go up against the Dodgers, the Yankees, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So let me know, what are your thoughts? What's your feelings towards Mark? But I mean, you open up, I know when you're in school, whether it's like middle school or high school, and you're working on like English composition classes, and they always say, create when you write a paper or you write something, have a catchy intro, have a intro that just draws the reader in right away. Ken does that with this piece. Opens it up by saying, Milwaukee Brewers owner Mark Attanasio keeps getting away with it. His front office is that shrewd, his managers that skilled, his players that devoted to succeeding as underdogs. Yet, as Attanasio continues to clamp down on spending, his team's margin for error keeps shrinking. And if this is a season his frugality finally costs the Brewers, he will deserve some, if not most, of the blame. The rest of the piece goes on to continue a little bit more about some of the moves that have been made or lack thereof. And Ken goes on to say, strictly looking at 2025, the Brewers' plan is curious at best. Attanasio in a news conference today on Tuesday said that the team's payroll is approximately $5 million higher than it was at the start of last season. But at one point, according to multiple sources who were granted anonymity for their candor, he asked the front office to contemplate cost-cutting trades of right-hander Aaron Savale, who is earning $8 million, and reliever Joel Piamps, who is at $2.995 million. The Brewers ultimately decided against such moves, but clearly Attanasio's intent to build a playoff team as cheaply as possible. That, of course, is his prerogative, but as general manager Matt Arnold acknowledged, it puts a lot of pressure on our group to operate very efficiently. The front office relishes the challenge, Arnold said. Here's guessing the front office also would relish the money to better address third base and to add to the starting rotation and the bullpen. Goes on to talk about other things here too, but as Ken goes on to say, opening day is still more than a month away. The Brewers could still add a free agent starter such as left-hander Jose Quintana. But if you're Mark Attanasio and you watched your team win the NL Central by 10 games last season after losing manager Craig Counsell, trading staff ace Corbin Burns, and dealing with the prolonged absences of Yelich, Williams, and right-hander Brandon Woodruff, you might be thinking, why bother? One reason, to honor the support of fans who since 2007 have given the Brewers the 9th highest average home attendance in the majors. Another, to reciprocate the faith of Wisconsin lawmakers who in November of 2023 approved about $500 million, I think it's 2024, but approved about $500 million in public funding for renovations and maintenance of the team's home park in Milwaukee. As part of the deal, the team agreed to contribute $150 million and extend its lease to through 2050. The Brewers play in the game's smallest TV market, like a number of their clubs. Their long-term local TV or local television outlook is uncertain, but they are also a recipient in Major League Baseball's revenue sharing program. And let's not forget the escalating value of their franchise, which has risen from $223 million when Mark bought it in 2005 to $1.605 billion in March 2024. So he wraps it up by saying the Brewers being the Brewers, it's difficult to bet against them, especially in the game's weakest division. The sport's leading projection systems favor the Cubs, but the Brewers face an uphill battle seemingly every year. They're everyone's favorite underdogs, even as they keep losing parts of their fabric, even as their owner raises the degree of difficulty to new extremes. So, again, that's from Ken Rosenthal, his latest piece. You can check it out on The Athletic if you have a subscription to The Athletic. So the question to you, Brewers fans, is, again, what are your views on Mark Attanasio? Have they changed over the years? Have they changed from being appreciative when he was first there, a part of, the 08 teams, the 2011, 18, whatever? And have they maybe changed over the last couple of years? Would you like to see him be a little bit more aggressive and such? I think one of the things that popped out to me, I know we went through his comments the other day. He does his normal spring training presser, and we already went through that and such. But when he talked about, they're actually $5 million more this year than last year, I think that one comment from or the sources there from Ken's piece over there saying, yeah, but he actually tried to cut a little bit more from some of these pitchers is pretty damning over there, and kind of goes against that. So what are your thoughts? Let us know. Hit us up with a text at 715-830-1912. Good morning, Bob.
Good morning. And I think too, I can hear the frustration in your voice as you read this with Attanasio, and I think I agree with you. I think I'm hearing it, that he's cheap. He's been, for lack of a better term, taking advantage of Brewer fans over the years by doing what he's doing. I mean, $5 million, that's nothing. They spend more than that to buy baseballs every year and bats and things like that. He is very tight with a dollar, and it has been frustrating. It really is. And it's, I love baseball. I love going to American Family Field and watching a ball game. But, there comes a point, and I don't know when that point will be, if I'll ever see it, that he has to do something. I mean, it's been brought up. We've talked about it before. Take on some more owners, sell part of the team so that he can get some influx of revenue in there. But, you just said it's the weakest division. It's the smallest markets outside of Chicago. And Chicago should be dominating this division every year. St. Louis has the best baseball organization. And so that's why they're normally always in the fight. But I got to give the Brewer players and the Brewers on-field staff and even the front office, general manager kudos for putting such a competitive team on the market with the ownership and the dollars they're dealing with, because he's not making Matt Arnold's job any easier. There's no question about it.
There was also a question, an answer from him the other day that is kind of rapid fire over social media, but I want to give it the full context of this. One question he was asked, with all that's happened since Yelich signed his contract extension, do you foresee ever doing a deal of that magnitude again? And Mark answered, sure, yeah. It just has to be the right player at the right time in our life cycle. I thought about this a lot when we did the contract with Yelich. It's great to have generational players that the fans can follow. We had Yount, but you get into the question of what is your job as the steward of baseball here? Is my job to win a World Series? And now everyone is going to say, oh, he doesn't want to win a World Series. But is my job to win a World Series, or is my job to provide a summer entertainment and passion and a way for families to come together? Because you don't know when you sign someone. I decided it was that more so than what you would get for Christian Yelich in a trade and how that would go into the fancy computer model that general manager Matt Arnold and his team have. So I'm committed to that. The part that a lot of people are really upset with is obviously the quote where he says, is my job to win a World Series, or is my job to provide summer entertainment and a passion for a way for families to come together? It was a really weird, that's the whole quote. So I wanted to give it a context besides just that one part, but it's still a very weird answer.
It is a really weird answer. And I'm just sitting here shaking my head listening to you say that. This guy is the wrong owner for the Milwaukee Brewers with that kind of attitude. Every fan wants to win. Every player wants to win. Every general manager and manager wants to win. And your owner doesn't want to win? When you start at the top with a guy that doesn't want to win, it makes it an awful lot tougher on everybody else down the line, down the chain of command, to try and win. That's frustrating to hear that. It really is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I don't know if I feel better about the quote by reading the whole thing. I mean, I'm not trying to get in this, but it almost seemed like a very political type answer, right? Just saying stuff without saying a whole lot.
Well, it's deflecting.
Yeah.
I don't know, blame is the right word, deflecting responsibility. He's the owner.
Mm-hmm.
As the owner, you want to win. I mean, can you imagine he and George Steinbrenner sitting across the table discussing what you want to do with the baseball team? George Steinbrenner is going to say, I just want to provide entertainment for people in New York. The New York media would throw him out in a hurry. But, you're in Milwaukee. You don't have that aggressive media to really go after him for those kind of statements.
Mm-hmm.
But that to me, I'm very disappointed in Mark Attanasio with making that kind of a statement that I'm here to provide entertainment.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what Craig Tyson and the Express have here. Provide good baseball and good entertainment. That's what we're doing here in Eau Claire at Carson Park. That's not what you do at American Family Field when you're dealing with Major League Baseball. Mm-hmm. Can you imagine if Gutekunst said that?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And I'll admit it, like my feelings have changed over the years for Mark. I mentioned it earlier, but I'll say this again. In 2011, I was at the game when we won against the Diamondbacks, the walk-off, and they're celebrating on the field. And one of the loudest cheers that the stadium got, the place was going nuts, but one of the loudest cheers is when the camera panned to Mark on the field, and it was on the scoreboard, and it felt like it was a fan saying kind of a thank you,
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like that time is gone and it's changed because they've got that consistent success, but now it's like, okay, we want a little bit more now, though, right? We got to this point. Now we want a little bit more. It feels like, I remember a friend of mine told me years ago, for coaching wise, he was a really good tennis player. And he said, his coach came to him and said, this is all I can do for you. You got to go to the next step. And I wonder if that's the way for Brewers with the ownerships. Like, this is all you can do. Do we need a little bit more now for that next step? Kind of what you were saying.
But you got to give them the material. Those coaches are giving that tennis player the skills to get to that next level.
Mm-hmm. But I'm saying the Brewers got to that level where they're good. They're making it to the playoffs, but we want that next level. do they have that financial to the others? I don't think they do.
That's what I mean. I think that's his responsibility. He doesn't seem to want to accept that responsibility. When you're the owner, I mean, you look at Robert Kraft for the Patriots and on and on and on you go. Jerry Jones, as unsuccessful as he's been, you can't criticize him for not putting resources into Dallas Cowboys personnel. And Attanasio hasn't even come close to doing that. Now, I know it's a small market, small TV market. When you talk New York and Los Angeles, they're $1 billion a year markets for media. You don't have that for the Milwaukee Brewers. But still in all, you got to do more than he's doing.
Now, I know, on the other, I'm just going to call it devil's advocate or looking at both sides of this. I know they've invested a lot into like their spring training complexes, their pitching ones, that state-of-the-art stuff over there. But that's something we don't pay attention. We want the results on the field, right? We want the trophy or that hunk of metal that Rob Manfred called it a couple years ago.
Yeah, and spring training facility, this, that, and the other thing. That's like Wisconsin Dells. It's a tourist attraction, and you got to make it so people want to come. They like baseball, and they want to come, but you got to make it creature comfortable.
I'm talking more about like the pitching lab and the workout stuff that the players actually use.
But I mean, it's got to translate into success on the field, and you've got to, you can have the greatest pitching lab, but if the guys in the pitching lab are you and I, you're not going to win. I don't care what the lab is, how fancy the lab is. You got to have the Corbin Burnses. You got to have the Woodruffs in there to pitch that are going to be top players. You just, there's something you got to have the top players.
Well, to be fair, they did. It's just he didn't do enough probably to surround them.
When we did have them. That's what I'm saying.
We had those guys when they were cheap and younger, and I think that's where a lot of the frustration was from fans is like, take advantage of it when you got a Corbin Burns who's cheap, a Brandon Woodruff who is healthy and cheap, contract-wise, cheap, not taking advantage of that and surrounding it. I mean, it was 2 years ago when we were like goo gaga about this starting pitching staff. But what were we saying? We need more offense. We need more bats, and they didn't do it.
No.
They didn't go out and get any more offense to help them
out.
But
that's been the frustration. We've got them, but with the acknowledgement. Now, the best thing they did is sign Churio, and they that was a revolutionary contract for the Brewers. But they didn't do that. We knew we had Burns, we knew we had Woodruff, but we also and some of the best pitchers in baseball. But we also knew they weren't going to be here very long because of this, this structure of the salaries in baseball. I'm not putting 100% of the blame on Attanasio at all. But I think his efforts financially are lacking.
Yeah, and I don't think it helped. I think a lot of this almost kind of really peaked or maybe really kicked off. Was it the COVID year when they were going through the whole, Major League Baseball and the Players Union trying to negotiate or something, and then the news dropped that he had spent like millions of dollars on I think it was a Jackie Robinson card or something like that.
Yeah, I remember that.
And I was like, oh, that's not the greatest PR at that point in time when he's dropping. Great, you're a collector and you can afford all that, but at that point in time with the PR, that did not bode well. It did not look good.
No, that didn't help.
Negotiation.
That didn't help the Brewers get any closer to a pennant or a World Series.
And it did help, from a fan's perspective, that's already like frustrated with you and like, oh, so you'll spend how much money on a collectible, but you won't get another hitter or a pitcher, that sort of thing. And
and I think over the winter and because of him, Matt Arnold, the rest of them, dropped the ball as far as getting any offensive help on this team. I think they're counting an awful lot on these young players who I think are very good. I really do. I think they got a nice young roster, but they need help.
I think they got a nice young roster. I think they could go back to the postseason, but they ain't winning a World Series.
No, not going to happen.
I don't, I get like, well, it's baseball. You don't know. But if I pick it right now, I don't have any confidence for them to go to the World Series.
Well, you can't. I mean, you're going to go. You're going to root for them. You're going to cheer them on. You're going to, follow them, and hopefully they'll do well. We'll have more Gold Glove winners. We'll have more All-Stars, and on it goes. But when you lose Willie Adames, who was, really became a cornerstone of that team, but you knew there was no way he was going to be here anymore.
That's the thing that, like, for me, it just I'll just say it sucks as a fan when we already have the mindset like, yep, we know that guy's gone. It was like Pritch Fielder.
Yeah.
It was like Pritch. We know he's gone next year.
Yeah, exactly.
CC, we know he's gone. It just sucks to have that mindset that, when Corbin was traded, it's like, yep, because we know we can't afford him.
No, exactly.
And it's hard at times. It's like,
and the frustrating thing to me about that is the fact when they're trading these, I'll go back to the Josh Hader trade. Who's making these trades? We're getting nothing in return. Really and truly. I think we did get one pitcher that
I think Robert Gasser came from that
kind
trade.
of turned out a little short-term help, but we've got nothing in return for these guys. And that's the frustrating thing. I mean, you'd look at some of the arms that the Brewers have had over the years and where they are now. They're not in a Brewer uniform. And I know money, those markets have more money. But still in all, they haven't done anything. You just that's the problem, as you said, being a fan. Boy, they're great players, but they won't be here very long.
And that's I don't know if youngsters worry about that or such, but it's like it's almost hard to get attached to players too. Because you don't know. It's like, well, how long are they going to be here for? It's like, I think of it from a kid's like, okay, for Hudson. If I'm thinking about, hey, he wants a jersey, who am I going to get? Well, that guy might be gone in 2 years. I don't want to spend $150 on a jersey, just from a dad perspective, when that guy is going to be gone.
Yeah.
Because, well, the team's not going to be able to afford him.
No, and I've got a friend of mine that I went through grade school with in high school, and he's a member of the Milwaukee Braves Historical Society, an officer. He's got Del Crandall's uniform and equipment he wore in the 57 World Series. He's got he's a personal friend of Eddie Matthews' kids. And you could do that because they played their whole career. You don't do that anymore. And that's a shame. I mean, this guy owns an old fire station in Madison, and it's like a Milwaukee Braves memorabilia museum.
Be so cool.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
It's, you go up and he's got Milwaukee Braves memorabilia all over the place, and it's kind of fun. You go look at all that stuff and think, I watched him wear that uniform or saw him hit with that bat, and then you slide down the fire pole.
I was going to ask you, they still have the pole there. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. But, I mean, you don't get tied into that anymore. You just don't.
It's not to switch sports, but it's the same way with the NBA, too. Like, why it's so hard to, to just kind of latch on. Like as a kid, we all latched on to an individual player or a couple players, right? I mean, it was like what Hank Aaron for you, probably as a kid. For me, it was, but now it's like, but they're going to be gone, and I hate that as a fan. Like, well, we know that guy's going to be gone. The better he plays, he's just pricing his way out of town at this point.
I mean, these guys stayed around. Johnny Logan, who was a Brave shortstop, he stayed around. He became sheriff of, I don't know, Milwaukee County or something else down there after his playing days were done. And you just don't have that community anymore. It's just the way it is.
Yeah. And I know, yesterday we were actually talking because Marco actually revealed a story that Euchre almost called it quits in 2005 when Mark bought the team.
I'd heard that.
And
I don't know the details, but.
And I too didn't know this until after Bob passed, and Bob's kid told Mark this, and it was essentially, I'll just kind of sum it up again, but Euchre, I didn't know who Mark Attanasio was, but he looked at him as a West Coast finance guy, didn't want to, he was very loyal to the Seeligs and thought about going in a different direction, and apparently he had his mind made up that he was going to be done in 2005, but Wendy Seelig set up a meeting between Mark and Bob before it was announced that Mark was going to be the new owner. And it ended up that Euchre said he, decided he would stay. And can you imagine a big what if because like right away, Mark would have been blamed for kicking out Euchre, right? I mean, that would have been the phrase.
I think so.
He would have been blamed for getting Euchre out of there. And we wouldn't have had the 2008 calls of Ryan Braun with his home run, the walk-offs in 2011, all those memorable calls that we have. That could have been nothing.
Oh, absolutely. No.
And Mark would have came in right away, and you're the guy that pushed Euchre out.
But, even I'm thinking of this year, and I've thought about this before. Get up. get up, get out of here, gone. We'll never hear that again.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of on tape. We're not going to hear it live. I mean, it's an iconic call that he had. That was a Euchre home run call. We're not going to hear that anymore.
Yeah. But, I don't know, like, if Mark needs to hire somebody to a little PR help with some of these answers that he gives. And
he comes across to me as, I don't want to use the term know-it-all, but
arrogant a little bit.
Yeah, that term probably could fit in there. But he owns the team and he's got the money in there. But boy, I still think, and I agree with the people that have called for the fact that he should sell part of the team and generate some more income in there. Because if you just gave the value of the team when he bought it to now it's over $1 billion. I mean, there's some money to be made there. And, he could keep controlling interest. But still, there are people out there that I know, or I would think, I shouldn't say I know, but I would think have a lot of disposable income, and they probably wouldn't mind spending a couple $100 million to be part of the Brewers.
And, I think for maybe some people too, it'd be like, well, is there value in the Brewers? We just said they're the ninth highest in terms of fan attendance.
Yeah.
I mean, fans come out. It's not like the stadiums are always empty and there's no income there. Yes, the media market's the smallest, but I'll look at the Bucks, Herb Cole, but, obviously the team that was a priority. He wanted to keep it there. But you look at, they've got like 4 different owners, and they've got this weird structure where it's like every few years, it's a new controlling owner. It's like the governor or whatever they call it. But you look at, that might be the example, right? Where you got these owners come in, what they do? They've flushed it with cash to build these rosters, right? And I think that's what Brewers fans want.
No, I don't know if if the structure can be the same in the different sports.
Yeah.
As far as fun, they've all got their own different rules of how ownership works and that sort of stuff. But no, I think that the Brewers ownership needs to be expanded.
Yeah.
Because if he's not going to spend the money, we know he's not going to spend the money.
Yeah.
Because he's proven that. Get some more money.
Right. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I don't know because I know, and this might be a little bit different too, because remember, like the Jets, and I know it's the Woody Johnsons, the Chris Johnsons, but when Woody was like in Ireland as an ambassador, then like his brother was like the controlling owner or something like, and then I'm sure they could probably come up with some legal language.
I'm sure they can. There's, it's like they say, figures don't lie, but liars can figure. So there's always ways to get around it.
Yeah, because I mean, even remember, like Bucks have the Edens, Lasry, or maybe one of them got rid of it, but then the Haslam's, and then Junior Bridgman just bought 10%. So I mean, there's got to be ways. Then instead of Giannis,
does Aaron Rodgers still have a part of the?
I think so.
Part of the Bucks,
like 1%. I think it is.
I wonder if he ever shows up at a game. I can't imagine he shows up at a game very often.
And I got to imagine Giannis's ownership in the Brewers is probably like 1% or similar to what Rodgers was for the Bucks.
Yeah,
maybe a whole lot.
Yeah,
that's more of a PR
window dressing type stuff. Yeah.
Yep. Every couple of years, have a Giannis thing giveaway for ticket giveaways.
Yeah.
So,
and I'm still, I've said this many times. Baseball, as much as I love all the sports, baseball is still my favorite sport, and I love to go watch Major League Baseball live. It's just different than watching it on TV, and I hope the crowd still come to Milwaukee. But Attanasio's, he's at a tipping point right now, I think, because we had that strong pitching staff for so many years. And last year, Murphy did wonders with that pitching staff to get that team to win that division by 10 games. And he's got the on-field players, and he knows how to manipulate that. I think he's a better game manager than Craig Counsell. And I just think that, it's getting to the point where how much of a magician are you with a pitching staff that is questionable at best?
I'm glad this just popped up because I had saved this, but this might, I thought this was interesting when I first saw it. So this was from Brooksgate. The number of days each Major League Baseball team has led their division since 2020. There's only 2 teams that are in the 400 days. Dodgers. So again, this is from 2020, the number of
Mhm.
days that they've led their division. Dodgers 496. Brewers 468, second most. Houston's third at 328. Two of those three, though, have won some hardware.
Yeah, yeah.
They've
Well,
spent
like
to win some hardware,
like
too.
you said, the Brewers are probably in the weakest division,
Mhm.
and so you can win your division, but then you go up against the Dodgers, and I mean, the series a year or so ago when they lost to Arizona in the first round just made me sick, and they've just not had the horses in the playoffs because the playoffs are a different game.
And it was like that series, too, I think we all felt like once they're down 2-1, 3-1, they can't come back, from a score-wise
Right,
because they
right.
had no offense. They had
Right.
no hitters.
Yep.
When Corbin gave up a couple home runs, all of a sudden it's like 2-1 or whatever the heck it was. I'm like, oh, crap. You didn't feel good. Like we don't got anybody that can power us our way through it.
And I don't know if Attanasio is a businessman and a baseball man, or because he's not a baseball man. He knows the game and he's sure the game, but I don't know how much he's ever played it. I don't know how much he understands about what it takes to win. You don't win with a bunch of guys hitting singles, not when it comes to the playoffs.
Mhm.
You're going to win your share of games, but you're not going to win the big prize.
Mhm.
It's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
You got to have some big arms.
See, when I see this number 2, the 468 net, at this
It's
point,
amazing is what I would call that.
It's amazing. I also I think that's a lot of credit to Stearns and Matt Arnold for finding guys and those players and coaches. I don't give a lot of credit to Mark for that number. I give a lot of credit to everybody else.
Craig Counsell, Counsell mainly because he's the one that was there. Counsell's a good manager. It's more fun watching the way Murphy manages than it was Counsell. Counsell was a winner in Milwaukee. I'll never take that away from him or say that, he didn't deserve recognition. I think you'll agree with me. He should have been manager of the year in the National League at least once during his tenure in Milwaukee.
I agree.
But his type of baseball, he knew how to manage that pitching staff, but his type of baseball wasn't fun to watch. Like
it was very analytical, robotic, wasn't it?
Exactly. Yeah.
Whereas,
it was station to station, and you got these guys now. Murphy's got recognition, and hopefully Yelich is healthy again because he can run like a deer. When he starts going, there's nobody that can get from base to base, from first to third, or first to home faster than Christian Yelich. And some of these other young guys that he's got also, Churio, Turang, and on it goes. These guys can run, and Murphy took advantage of that last year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he adapted to what he had, right?
Yep.
Built to what he had. Your thoughts, continue to send them on over. Text us 715-830-1912. We do have a poll up on the X/Twitter. That poll question is, what are your feelings towards Brewers owner Mark Attanasio right now? 3 options: positive, negative. And I did throw in there, did it change from a positive to a negative? Because that's how I kind of feel like.
That's about that's the category I put myself into.
Because it was like, okay, awesome, we're there. But then the last few years especially, it's like, okay, can we do a little bit more? Can we do a little bit more, please? And
it's almost like, if you're in a race, and you can see the finish line.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, the sand gets deeper and deeper and deeper as you get to the finish line, where the other teams, that spend a little bit more, their footing is a little bit more solid. It's like, our guys have a bigger hill to climb than some of these other teams. You're talking the Dodgers and the Yankees and all those, they've got money to spend. I don't expect ever even being like a Juan Soto or, no, I don't expect that. Expect him to be competitive for some of these other guys. I think he should have. Did he even offer Willie Adames a contract?
I don't think so.
See,
and the thing is too, like, if you go back to last year at the end of the season, Mark was already saying, yeah, we're probably not going to be able to afford him. I don't want my owner saying that publicly. Like, we already know it, but then you're just like hammering that stake in the heart a little bit more.
And it's going to be interesting this year to see how much Willie Adames's departure means to this team, because he was a leader. And I pointed this out when I went to the games last year. He was the leader of that team. After they came off the field, every inning of every, and I went to 3 or 4 games last year, which obviously isn't a lot when you're talking 80 games in a year at home. But every game I went to, and I think this probably happened, every game I went to, after every inning, the third out, whether it was a strikeout, whether the ball was caught in the outfield, whether it was a ground ball to the first baseman, every one of those guys that held the ball after the third out threw it to Willie Adames, and he threw it into the crowd on his way to the dugout.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just a little sign of respect. And Willie's the leader, and he was always on the field. He did not want to come out. He'd play day games after night games without any problems. He's going to be missed.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, did he even offer him a contract? He never talked a number.
No, never.
Yeah.
Never. Just kind of already set the stage like he's gone.
Yeah.
But
and
while he was still there.
And what did he get, $180 million from?
I think so. Like 6 years, 180 or something.
And I think that's doable for the Brewers.
Mm-hmm.
I really do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's what was so disappointing. It's not like he's a $400, $500, $600, $700 million guy. He's, now he's out in San Francisco, and I think he's going to make a big difference for the Giants.
Yep. All right, we got to take a quick break, but send us your thoughts. We'll have more on this too, including some comments from Christian Yelich on the Brewers' philosophy of building their team. We'll get to that. It's coming up in just a little bit. Only got about 30 seconds to the top of the hour here, so we'll save the Christian Yelich comments coming up for the second hour here. But if you got Twitter, if you got the X, you can partake in our poll. I'll just tell you right now, it's about 66% saying negative. It's in the 30s from changed from a positive to a negative on your feelings towards Brewers owner Mark Attanasio. So. You can vote over there or hit us up again with the text 715-830-1912. Do have some votes too for positive. Got 14% of the people out there saying it's positive. So, all right, 1 hour and flying on through here. We'll take a quick break and we'll be back after these news updates. Second hour kicking off right now on this Thursday morning. A big thanks for tuning in wherever, however you're tuning in. Coming to you from the TDS Sports Talk Studios. We've got, we'll get back to some more Brewers talk here. It's kind of a vent, frustration sort of feel this morning for Brewers fans with their feelings towards owner Mark Attanasio. We put up a poll question. What are your feelings towards the Brewers owner? Right now on our Twitter/X poll, it's 12.5% positive, 62.5% negative, 25% of you changed from positive to a negative throughout his tenure. You can vote over there or let your feelings be known by hitting us up with a text on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line or commenting on the video stream. We'll get to some comments from Christian Yelich here in just a second, but it is Thursday, so we'll do a little Throwback Thursday chats with you when Bob's done breaking stuff in the studio here.
You got so much stuff in the studio. This is like a living sports museum in here.
Good thing we're moving, so a little bigger space.
That'll be kind of fun. People come in and visit and be able to watch you do the show through the big window.
Maybe some people will stop dropping off stuff in here. I come in here almost every day and there's something new and I have no idea where it came from. Just people dropping crap off in here. So
looks like you got the fender off a race car over here.
That's been in here for a few years. So 1887, the first minor league baseball association was organized in Pittsburgh. 1930, Clint Benedict, the Montreal Maroons, became the first goalie to wear a mask in the NHL. He wore the mask temporarily during an injury. Probably a good decision. 1943, Phil Wrigley and Branch Rickey chartered the All-American Girls Softball League. And I think that's about it. Yeah, that's about it. So that's just a little Throwback Thursday for you on this day of March 20th. So, Christian Yelich, what did he have to say about how the Brewers kind of go about things? This was from the USA Today, Bob Nightingale. Kind of a similar article to what Ken Rosenthal put up on The Athletic. But Bob Nightingale's piece is entitled, Why the Brewers Refuse to Spend Big Despite Decade of NL Central Domination. By the way, the Brewers spent about $1 million this offseason, in case anybody was wondering. So,
$1 million? That's all?
Yeah. So
and the Mets spent what, $700 million on Soto and the Dodgers and
so here's again, I won't read everything here, but this is just a little bit that includes comments from Christian Yelich from Bob Nightingale's piece. That small market life in Milwaukee, which has dominated the National League Central Division since 2017, winning 4 division titles and is reaching the playoffs in 6 of the past 7 years, despite having a paltry payroll. Now, after winning the NL Central in back-to-back years, instead of going for the jugular like the Dodgers and the Mets, the Brewers are standing pat. It's enough to drown yourself in beer and stuff your face with cheese curds. Quote, we don't really have a choice, right? Christian Yelich, the highest paid player at $22 million, told the USA Today. It's not up to us to decide who's on the roster or who's not, or if we're going to acquire anybody in the offseason. It's out of our control here. It's a challenge we seem to have to face every year. We lose pieces. Some years we lose more than others. You'd like to have every chance and opportunity to compete. I think we still do, and we just have to go out there and see how it plays out. That doesn't bode a lot of confidence.
I was going to say, read between the lines of what he's not saying, what he wants to say in there. We've got a cheap owner.
Yeah. He also went on to say, we've got some good young players. We're always relying on young players trying to find a way. So that's kind of how it always is. We'll see how it plays out. I'm like, geez. It's like,
he's not happy. And, that's the most I've ever heard him say. And you have to read between the lines of what he's not saying there. And, I mean, Attanasio is taking a lot of grief here, but I think it's deserved because he didn't do one thing to help this team from last fall to now this spring.
Yeah. As Bob notes on here, too, not you, Bob Nightingale, the Brewers and Dodgers and Astros are the only teams in the major leagues to win at least 86 games in a full season for the past 7 seasons. The difference, of course, the Dodgers have won 2 World Series championships and 4 pennants in that stretch. That's what we've talked about a little bit earlier on too. So, I definitely I'm kind of reading between the lines too from Yelly with that. I didn't really get a whole lot of positivity from some of those.
No,
quotes.
It's not a ringing endorsement of the management. I think the front office is fine. It's the ownership wing of the party that isn't doing its share. I don't know how much. I don't know what Attanasio's thought is when you own a team. To be successful in any business, you have to have good people. You have to have, good resources. And is he not willing to spend the money? He's just taking the resources that come in. They can draft every year, so those are new resources. And if we get somebody cheap in free agency, we can do that. But he doesn't want to, do anything that's going to give the Brewers a real chance. I mean, they've been winning, but I mean a chance to win the World Series. They haven't been strong enough. We've all been crossing our fingers, hoping for a miracle the last few years, but you get into the playoffs and you got to have that stability of a player or two that has been there. You can depend on them. I mean, Corbin Burns, like you talked just a little while ago, against Arizona a couple of years ago, we thought he was going to be the guy that lead us to the promised land. He gives up home runs, bang, 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 like that against Arizona, and we're behind the 8 ball and we can't make it up because if Corbin Burns can't do it, who else is there to do it for us? We had all our eggs in one basket, so to speak.
Yeah, you almost need like pitch perfect, pun intended, outings every single time.
Exactly.
From your staff. There was no trust at all in that offense because there was nothing. There was nothing. And that's when, Adames was struggling that year.
Yep.
And
Yelich was kind of injured, half injured, and these young kids hadn't come on yet.
Nope.
So, but Attanasio he doesn't seem to have any vision for the future of what it takes to be successful. The Brewers have been successful, but not the ultimate success that everybody that's in the game should be striving for. If I'm an owner, my first thing, I'm here to win a World Series. And you just talked a little while ago about Attanasio. I'm here to give people something to do in the summer. I'm sorry, I can find something to do in the summer. If you're going to put a professional baseball team on the field, put a team on that can win. If I'm going down there and spending how much for a ticket, $25 to park a car, you go in there and you spend $13 for a beer. And I mean, you can't hardly take a family of 4 or 5 to the game anymore without, planning ahead and setting aside some money to go because it's expensive.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. And if you've got younger ones, you're probably going to the pro shop because,
you're going to buy a hat or a ball or
those are $40 a piece, a hat or a bobblehead now. And it's like, geez. I guess it boils down to if let's say Mark threw out this, he's going to put it in the hands of fans. He's like, all right, guys, say we've got a good nucleus of guys. And he's like, okay, Brewers fans, majority rules. I will, for 1 or 2 years, just throw a ton of cash in this thing and sign these free agents and do these trades and bring in some proven commodities, like going all in, pushing the chips in. I'll do that, but then that means after, let's say, 2 years, it's going to be 5, 6, 7 years of, roster shedding, salary cuts to make up for that. But that puts you in a position to potentially maybe win a World Series. Would you rather have that? Or would you rather have kind of what's going on now? You got kind of a baseline where you're competing for a postseason and potentially getting to the postseason. Which one? If you put that out there, which one would you vote for?
And as you were talking about that, it brings me back to which franchise has done that over
Green Bay.
No, I mean in baseball.
Oh, baseball?
Florida Marlins.
Yeah.
They win the World Series, and then they let all their players go.
Royals kind of did that too, like that 2-year stretch.
But they're a small market team. I mean, you got Miami. But I enjoy baseball. The Brewers have been competitive. I want a competitive team, but being competitive and being considered a World Series winner are two different things to me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, these Brewers are going to be competitive in the division just because of the division they're in.
Right.
But you got to look outside the division. How competitive are you going to be against the National League West, the American League East, some of these other divisions?
Mm-hmm.
To me, there's a difference there.
Mm-hmm.
Being competitive is one thing, but being considered viable winners of the whole thing is something else. And if I'm an owner, that's where my thoughts would be.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't want to put this on the fans. You know, you're given the God-given whatever you got to have all this money and how hard you worked, whether, I don't know what he did to make all his money. But if you're the owner of a team, you don't put yourself on the same level as the fans.
But if
you have to assume
Mm-hmm.
responsibility that it's my team.
Mm-hmm.
I got to make a winner. I want to win the World Series. If you would just want to own a team to say you own a team and you don't want to win the World Series, get out of the business.
So it sounds like if you could tell him, you could voice your opinion, you would be go for it for a couple year stretch.
Well, go for it. Absolutely.
If it meant like maybe 5 years or so after that, it's like, okay, we got to kind of reset everything.
Yeah, and you know, but the luxury is being in that division, you don't have to reset the whole thing that much because nobody else in that division. The Cubs if I'm a Cubs fan, I'm more upset with the Cubs than anything else. This family that owns them now, and you go to Wrigleyville, and it's completely different than it used to be years ago because this family that owns, I can't say their name right now, but they've taken Wrigleyville and torn down some of the traditional Wrigleyville places to put up hotels.
Ricketts, right?
Ricketts family, thank you. But they put up a hotel outside where they used to have the players would park. You could walk out there after the game and stand there and watch the players walk to their car and drive their cars out. Now they got hotels there that somebody said cost, you know, on game days, they cost $700, $800, $900 a night to stay there. You know, so that would be the fan base. I would be more upset than anything. You look at the Cubs. What do they got? They let Bellinger go. They don't have, you know, they signed, what's the name, Turner now, 40 years old. He got red-headed whiskers that played for the Dodgers.
They got Kyle Tucker now, too, coming over. But like there's
that's not a world-beating roster.
And then the Cubs were just getting nailed, too, from other national writers, too, for not up in the ante to get an Alex Bregman to come over, and he goes over to the Red Sox. I thought
Bregman was going to come to the Cubs. I really did.
Yeah,
but I think Cubs fans should be more upset than Brewer fans,
especially when they got the highest paid manager in the game right now, too. Right?
Well, highest paid manager. You're in that. You know, you're Milwaukee and Chicago, how far apart, but yet they're major market worlds apart as far as market for the media and things like that. So it's you know. While we're frustrated with Attanasio not taking the Brewers to the next level, or doesn't seem to want to take the Brewers to the next level, you look at the Cubs in that division with all those small markets, and they're not consistently dominating that division, then you really do have, then you do have frustration. Now, they won it all in, 2016? But, you know, that's a franchise that scratches my head. I mean, when I was a kid, they had managers or coaches. They'd rotating managers and coaches, and it was a mess. Ernie Banks, and then they choked away the pennant that one year, and that Chicago Cubs franchise is it's a mess. It really is, as far as with the success they should have in that division.
But they got one more World Series than we do, at least in my lifetime.
Yep, exactly. Yep.
You know, that's
but
where
they only have one. They should have many more than one.
But that's where it kind of goes back to the Brewer thing for me. It's like, and I wasn't around then, but I would like to get to a point where we're not just talking about 82 all the time.
Oh, you and me both.
You know.
You and me both. 82 is nice year, but it wasn't it was. And you lost. You remember it, a year you remember, but to me it wasn't a memorable year at all because you didn't get the prize.
Yeah, and that's where it's like I'd rather be talking about a team that won it.
Yeah,
You know,
so would I.
say Green Bay never won Super Bowl 31 or 45. Are we going to be talking about Super Bowl 32 and that loss to Denver? Like, because Favre, White, yep, great year, but they still lost.
Yeah, they did.
So not to take anything away from that team and all that, but I would like to get to a point where we're talking about an actual team that hoisted the trophy.
A good example in modern day, up to date, what happened in the Super Bowl and what people are saying about Kansas City right now and about Patrick Mahomes. I mean, they're jumping the gun, obviously, but, I was watching, I think, Cowherd the other day, and he had Greg Cosell on there, and he said, really and truly, he said, they had 3 or 4 guys starting in the offensive line in that Super Bowl that really and truly aren't good enough to be on an NFL roster. And they were starting in the Super Bowl. So that's what Mahomes was up against. So, yeah, as fans, we kind of jump off the bandwagon in a hurry. But as far as a Brewer fan, I'd like to be on the bandwagon at least once. And we haven't had a chance to be on the bandwagon.
Yeah. All right. Keep your thoughts coming. You can also vote if you'd like. We'll switch gears here a little bit. The Bucks are back in action tonight, post All-Star break. Now
Giannis going to play?
Everybody practiced yesterday.
Okay.
He was coy though. But
Jair Alexander practiced a lot too.
We'll talk some Bucks and kind of take a look at the quote unquote second half of the season, even though I know it's not technically halfway through, but it's the All-Star break and such. So. But we'll talk some hoops coming up here, including a blue gold basketball note that you'd want to be paying attention to. That's coming up after these quick words. Bucks are back in action tonight. Tip-off 7 p.m. going up against the Clippers. You can listen to that game on the radio dials of 105.1 FM and 790 AM. 6:30 pregame coverage. Tip time, we know it's never always accurate when they say 7. It'll probably be a few minutes after 7 p.m. So, again, you can catch that on the radio dials. And then tomorrow it's the Wizards game, which you'd be like, Bucks Wizards a few weeks ago. Probably not that of an attractive game, but now with Chris Middleton on that side, it might be a little bit more. It'd be interesting to kind of see those two, or Chris Middleton going up against his former team there. But first things first, Bucks got to take care of business against the Clippers tonight. Bucks currently sitting as the 5th seed in the Eastern Conference. So if the playoffs started today, they would actually be on the road, but they are just 1 game back from the Pacers for the 4th spot. Giannis yesterday talking about his injury. So everybody practiced, which is a positive note here. When Doc Rivers was asked if Giannis would play tomorrow, typical coach speak. We don't know. We went hard, but not that hard. So we'll see with him and Dame if they can go tomorrow. We don't know yet. So there you have it. It's typical coach speak at this time. But Giannis talked a little bit with the media, but he also, because this won't get any play from a national sense. Okay, so he talked to a TV station in Greece, Cosmo TV, and he said that he would never request a trade from the Bucks. I'm not that kind of guy, he says. But that won't get any play from the national peeps because they're still going to run with some stories out there.
He can't play his whole career in Milwaukee.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to go someplace else. I don't know what the outcome is going to be, but, he might never request a trade. But the Bucks might say in the best interest, long-term interest of our team, we have to. I mean, it's when the Bucks traded Kareem.
Mm-hmm.
They got 9 or 10 players and all this stuff, but the franchise went down.
Yep.
I mean, they won a championship with Kareem and Oscar, the big O. I mean, you can't replace those guys. I mean, Dallas isn't going to replace Luka Doncic.
Mm-hmm.
I think he'll play more than Davis will play for the Mavericks because he's injured all the time. I don't know, those iconic guys, you don't know what goes through their mind. And was he that bad a player? He drank too much beer and didn't work out, but they don't request a trade, but many times they get traded.
Mm-hmm. So the full quote was, if I get a text from my general manager, I will share the news with my family and I'll go do my job. Get a text like saying he was traded.
Yeah.
I'm getting paid good money to do this job. I would go anywhere I feel they need me. I'm not a guy who's going to ask for a trade. They should kick me out. So talking about Milwaukee.
Yeah. So. I hope Milwaukee's going to kicking him out.
Yeah. So, but again, that probably will go in one ear and out the other for a lot of those others who feel like Giannis is going to or should play somewhere else. So, but again, that doesn't mean he's going to stay. It'd be cool if he does a Kobe and stays the whole tenure, or like a Duncan and stays his whole tenure with that franchise. But it's 2025, and we've seen how many of these players.
How old is Giannis now?
31, 32?
Well, he's getting to the point where, if he doesn't leave in the next year or two, he's
just turned 30. So
okay, well, he's still got plenty of time left.
Mm-hmm,
I'd say he's probably 6 or 7 years left.
Yeah. I think the biggest one, though, for me was if Tom Brady can leave, I think anybody can leave.
Well, that's true.
Regardless of the sport. So, but,
yeah. Well, you look at all these, Hank Aaron changed teams. Willie Mays changed teams at the end of their careers. I don't know if Giannis will do that or not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know either, but I hope not.
Oh, I do too. I'm with you.
Yep. But Bucks going up against the Clippers, as we mentioned, they're currently in that 5th spot in the Eastern Conference. I still feel like they're not going to get a top 2. I don't even think they're going to get a top 3 seed. They're 6.5 back from the Knicks, who are at the 3 seed right now. But I still think it's important that they get that 4 spot so they at least get a home court for the first round. And right now they're one game back from the Pacers for that spot. But what do you want to see? We're going to call it the second half. Outside of wins, what do you want to see in the second half from this Bucks team that maybe makes you feel a little bit more confident that they could actually win maybe a playoff series?
That's simple for me. Better defense.
Yeah.
I think they've got to start holding these teams down a little bit more. They just, that Ole defense doesn't make it in the playoffs. And really and truly, I think now for the Bucks, this is playoff mode because they, as you said, they need to get to 4 so they can get a home court advantage. So I think they should be in playoff mode right now. And I think if they can play better defense and, drop the points against average down significantly or even moderately, I think it would go a long way to the Bucks getting that 4th position.
Yeah. Health, if we take health away, Giannis and Dame, I mean, those guys are going to have to play, meaningful. But that's going to be the interesting part too, is like, okay, Giannis is dealing with a calf thing, which he was dealing with in the postseason last year. How much do you push it because you want him for the postseason? But if you're going to suffer here a little bit where you're hovering around in that play-in round tournament, where's the balance? That to me is going to be a big question because they've got to make sure Giannis is healthy for the playoffs this year.
Oh, there's no question. They're going no place without him.
He's got to play in that. And even Dame was banged up in the playoffs last year too. And it's like, they've got to make sure that they're probably not going to be 100%, but at a level that they could go and play 35 minutes a game in a playoff game, close to 40.
And I think, too, they're going to have to work hard to work Kuzma and Porter, the new guys, into this rotation, both offensively and defensively. I think they can both help, but I think that's going to be one of their efforts, too. And I think a lot is on Doc Rivers' plate to make this happen because he's got a roster that's pretty darn good. Lopez has to step up. Bobby Portis has to step up. So many of these other guys need to step up. And he's got to, it won't be long. He's going to have to figure out his rotation because the bench shortens in the playoff. So how short can he make that bench? Or how short should he make that bench? I think there's some guys that probably are out of the picture already. I don't think Pat Connaughton is going to get much playing time when they get to the playoffs. And I don't know about Trent or some of these other guys as well, but I think this is the last 29 games where these guys have to show Doc Rivers that they can play. And I think they have to show that they can play defense because I think there's enough offense there. I think Lopez is a good enough shooter, Dame and Giannis. There's enough up. Bobby Portis can make the 3-pointer if he stays consistent. But I think some of these other guys have to really step it up so they can show Doc Rivers that they deserve playing time in the playoffs. And the best way to do that, I think, is to play better defense.
So again, tip time, 7:00 tonight against the Clippers before tomorrow night's game against the Wizards, which they'll be going up against Chris Middleton. And that'll be on the road. Before we take a break, though, I want to throw this out there because this is a really cool thing. If you have not been to a basketball game at the Sonnentag yet,
that's me.
Well, Monday nights, because the men's team with their win last night clinched the 3rd seed in the WIAC tournament, which starts Monday, and it's a home game. And Eau Claire, the UW Eau Claire, the Blue Golds, for Chippewa Valley Fan Appreciation Night, you get in for free for Monday night's WIAC tournament game.
Wow.
So anybody, you can get in for free for that game. It's the first playoff game ever in Sonnentag history. But for this men's team that was picked to finish last and now are getting the 3rd seed in the WIAC tournament, for their money, we don't know who they play yet because we got one more regular season game left to go here, but it's going to be free. So you can either reserve a ticket online. There is a $1 processing fee for that. In person before the game, free tickets will be available for pickup at the Sonnentag Center starting today, or in-person game day, free tickets will be available at the entrance to the arena.
Well, if it's not full for that, there's something wrong. I got to write it down, and I want to get over there because I have not been in the facility yet, and I haven't seen a ball game either, but congratulations to the Blue Golds for accomplishing something that obviously a lot of people didn't think they could accomplish, finishing in the top of the league this year. So that's wonderful.
Yeah, with first-year coach Zach and assistant coach Adam, they've there's a very bright future. I know some of the recruits they got coming in too, and it's going to be some good hoops over there.
Well, I think it's the facility
Mm-hmm.
is changing what blue gold basketball is all about. You know, you had the Ken Anderson tradition, but you don't win today with tradition. You win with the best team, and you recruit these kids to come into a facility like that, and it's a place where they're going to want to play. It's like, you know, the old field house versus the Kohl Center in Madison. It's a game changer.
Yeah. So perfect opportunity. If you have not gone, you can get in for free on Monday night for a playoff game too. So, I mean, again, we don't know who they play yet because we only got one more game left, in which it is senior night for the Blue Golds at home Saturday against Whitewater. Remember, they defeated Whitewater by 30 earlier this year too. So I know Whitewater's a little bit down, but anytime you can say you beat Whitewater by 30 and that much.
Whitewater doesn't show any mercy with their football team, so you don't show them any mercy with a basketball team.
Mm-hmm.
It's unbelievable. I was at a game, and fans are, you know, you play your team. I was at the Memorial Menominee girls basketball game, and I was over there and the game was 50-19 at the half. I mean, Memorial plays a fast-paced, pressing type game, full court, all over the floor. Menominee wasn't capable of handling that, and they got down, and they were getting beat pretty good. I went into the bathroom at halftime, and guys from Menominee were complaining about the coach from Memorial running up and I had to bite my tongue, running up the score and you know, back off. It's not fair to the girls. I wanted to say to him, I said, and how many times did you sit in the stands watching Joe Labuta's football team beat up on other teams, and how much did you complain about that? You know, what goes around comes around. It's just it's the cycle of sports. You're not going to be on top all the time. Sometimes you have to eat humble pie. I've been on both sides of it, and you have to realize that you're not going to be the best all the time. And you can't ask a team, because your team isn't very good, to change the way they play. Labuta didn't do that. You wouldn't ask him to do that. And so, you know, but I got a chuckle out of that. And I wanted to say something, but I thought, no, I'm going to leave well enough alone.
So, again, reminder, that is Monday because it's a quick turnaround. Even though they got a game Saturday, tournament starts right away on Monday. So,
yeah.
But, yeah, what a heck
this
of a
fun time of the year when you get to the tournaments and, you know, the pressure is ramped up and the excitement is ramped up, and it's fun.
Yeah, but definitely if you have not checked out this ball, they're a lot of fun to watch and very high energy team. So very, very fun, good time over there too. And sources have told me they've got some other stuff planned.
Oh, good.
In terms of maybe like a little pregame and getting crowd riled up and pumped up.
Good deal.
It's going to be an electric atmosphere at Sonantag.
Yeah, there sure seems to be new excitement with the Sonantag Center. You know, you had the old Zorn Arena. Well, it's been there forever. There was nothing new. There was nothing fancy about it. Now you got the Sonantag Center, and I don't know, is the hotel adjacent to it? Is that done yet?
I don't think it's done yet.
But that's going to be a wonderful addition when that's done. It's just going to be and you're on the river down there. It's just a great facility, a great setting, and obviously they're making the most of it for this team picked to be down the bottom of the conference to finish third. They're making money when the sun shines. That's a good thing.
And the two teams ahead of them, Platteville and La Crosse, are two top 5 nationally ranked teams.
Yeah.
And they almost beat both of them when they played them a couple times earlier this year.
Good.
So that's why when it comes to the WAC tournament, something could happen.
Oh, yeah.
Something could happen. So, all right, we'll take a quick break and we'll finish up with a little receive or defer coming up after these quick words. Coming up in about 45 minutes, we'll catch up with our good buddy, Mr. Jake Boakes, Conservation Warden for the great state of Wisconsin. So if you have any outdoor questions that you would like answered, send them to us now on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line, 715-830-1912. Or you can comment on the video streams, and I'll check for those on there too. Before, though, we finish up the second hour, before interns got to head out, we'll do a little receive or defer. Well, I'll start with you. You got a couple, right?
Yeah, I got a couple, but we were talking earlier, and I guess receiver defer, the Brewers' lack of adding to their team more depth or more pop to their team, more disappointing than any lack of personnel changes at the Packers.
I knew you were going to say that. That's a tough one, though. Yeah,
because I think I'm disappointed in both.
I'm very disappointed in both. I'm going to go Brewers, though.
So am I.
Yeah, I'm going to go Brewers. Because my main thing, not to relive history or go back, but, when we talked about that pitching staff, because pitchers are so dang expensive in Major League Baseball, and the guys that we had in that rotation, it's rare. I don't want to say never again, but it's rare to have that type of talent. And then, you had Devin Williams as your closer, too. I mean, you had talent. It's rare to have all those guys for as cheap as you were getting them, and to not just do something to get some more hitters over there to me, is incredibly disappointing. It's very disappointing. Right. One of the more disappointing years I think I've had as a Brewers fan.
Yeah, me too. I thought they would. When the season was over, you knew you were going to lose Adames. You had to think it's automatic that they're going to get an infielder with a bat, and they didn't aggressively do anything, really and truly.
Nope.
Receiver defer, speaking of pitching, Paul Skeens will get the biggest pitching contract ever when his contract comes due.
Assuming he's still healthy and everything.
Well,
receive. I'll receive that.
Yeah, that kid's good.
Man. And it's going to be Yankees or Dodgers or Mets.
I was going to say, there's only a few teams he's going to go to.
Yep.
And I don't know if a team like the Angels or the Red Sox or whatever would ever pony up that kind of money. But I don't know. Philadelphia, they've surprised us over the last few years by spending some money. I don't think Houston would do it, but he's going to get a big one.
And guess where he's from? California.
Oh, he is?
Yeah.
Well, I don't think he'd mind going back to the Angels.
Well, he's actually from Fullerton, California, not far from Anaheim.
Oh.
So,
okay.
The Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim.
All right.
Or the Dodgers.
Yeah. Receiver defer. Jair Alexander has to go.
He's gone. Yeah. I don't know if you had read or heard about Rob's, our good buddy Rob Domofsky's piece. He was just kind of doing like a free agency thing, but he's had a note in there that said team sources said that there's frustration in the building for him not only being hurt, but not playing through injuries. And that kind of makes you wonder, like, did the team feel like he could play a lot through that and he elected not to play or what? But there's too much out there, I think, that points that he's going to be gone.
Yeah, I think he's just really poisoned the water. I think it started with that thing he did in Carolina
last year, yeah.
And then how many times this year towards the end of the season, Jair Alexander was a full participant in practice. Game day, no, he's not going. No, 3 or 4 or 5 weeks in a row.
Yeah.
I mean, you just have to. You can't spend that kind of money on a guy that is a prima donna. And so won't break my heart to see him go. When he was healthy, he was very good. I would never say he was great, but he was very good. And I just think it's time to go.
Yeah, I think he's going to be out, and we'll see what. I mean, regardless if somehow he's back or not, they're probably going to get a corner, I would say, fairly early in the draft or something. Boost that depth over there. But yeah, it feels like all signs point to Jair's out. So.
Receiver defer. How far the Brewers will go, or the Packers will go at least 3 rounds into the draft before they take an offensive lineman.
I'll receive that. They'll go at least 3. So you're saying 4th round would be the earliest they would get one? Yeah, I'll receive that.
in spite of the fact that there's some talented offensive linemen that are going to go early.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how deep that trough of good offensive lineman is, but boy, oh boy, in that playoff game, wow.
Yeah, injuries caught up to him on that one.
Oh, that kid that came in there, I felt sorry for him because he'll never see the light of day again on the field.
Mm-hmm.
2 holding penalties, a false start. Man, he went back to the bench in a hurry.
He did.
I felt sorry for the kid because, obviously he didn't try and do that stuff, but he's not good enough.
Nope. Do you have any more? Or?
No, that'll do it for me.
All right. So I have to do some quick math here for my receiver defer. So, okay. Bucks have 29 more games left. Geez, when you put it in that perspective, 29 more games left in the regular season.
Yeah, that's well past halfway.
Yeah. So, okay, I'm going to have to lower the number that I'm going to put out there. Receiver defer, the Bucks will finish with 45 wins this season.
Where are they at now?
29. And there's 29 games left to go.
Oh, I'll receive that.
Okay, so
they're better.
That's 16 out of the 29.
Yeah, that's
16 and 13.
That's not a big mountain to climb with a team with Giannis and Damian Lillard.
Mm-hmm.
That's not that big a hill to climb.
I'm still nervous about it, though.
Well, yeah, because like I said,
I was going to say 50, but I'm like, that's 20 out of the 29. I don't know about that.
Dame is never going to be on the all-defensive team, let's face that. But still in all, they've got to have a little pride.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. He doesn't seem to even want to play defense. And would he step it up as we get into the last part of the season to get that 4 seed? I would hope so.
I'm thinking like 47, 48.
Yeah, they've got to easily make 45.
Yeah.
If they don't, I'll be majorly disappointed. And the only reason I wouldn't is if Giannis only plays half of those games, half of these 29 games left.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't think with Giannis in that roster or on that floor that they can't win at least 16 games.
Mm-hmm. Receiver defer, Greg Gard should finish in the top 3 for Coach of the Year.
Conference or the country?
We'll do country because I think conference is going to be between him and Dusty May at Michigan.
Yeah. Oh, I think so. Mm-hmm. I think so because you look at Alabama, Auburn, Kentucky, Duke.
Alabama just got upset last night.
Yeah, I know it.
Against
but I think Gard has done a wonderful job. Receiver defer was the acquisition. They're getting Tanji to come to school and letting Storr go. The best college coaching decision this year.
Best free agent move in college basketball.
Exactly. Because I don't think Storr got $700,000 at Kansas, and he's riding the bench.
Yeah.
He's pretty much riding the bench right now. And Tanji has been a player that plays offense, he plays defense, he passes the ball.
I don't know what his draft stock is, but I got to imagine it's pretty high.
I don't know what the pros think of him. But Storr, even last year, you look at Storr, he couldn't make a layup. You couldn't count on him to make a layup.
Mm-hmm.
He's a good player, but I don't know where he'll go next year because I think he has one more year left.
Yeah.
And if he goes back to Kansas, Bill Self might say, well, you can come back, but I'm not giving you any money. And his mother, the story was, Gard offered him $500,000 to stay at Wisconsin. His mother, that's an insult. For a college kid to play basketball, $500,000 was an insult. He went out there for $700,000, and he's not playing. I don't think he's played enough to earn a letter yet, let alone his money. So it'll be interesting to see what happens to that kid because he went to 4 different high schools. He's been to 3 or 4 different colleges already, so he hasn't laid down a lot of roots.
Yeah. I just kind of Googled Tanji and his NBA, and this was the one I was wondering if it would limit or kind of lower his age because he is a 5th-year guy. But it says, while Tanji's passing and limited upside due to his age raised concerns about his NBA potential, his impressive scoring ability will undoubtedly be valued as the NBA draft approaches. So, but yeah, was he 6'5"? Yeah, 6'5". He's a big guard out there.
And they talk about age, and you got some of these quarterbacks that have been 5-6 years in college. But seriously, if these teams if you get 10 years out of a guy, I think that's pretty good.
Well, look at some of the younger guys. Like the Bucks have done this, where they've drafted really young guys. They push them down the bench. They don't even play, and then a couple of years later, they're gone. They don't get the opportunity because they're too young to play. Well, then maybe you get a guy that's ready to play right away.
Well, that's
You
their
know?
first round draft choice this year is gone. They traded him away. Go for these international players that are, a little bit older or more experienced, whatever the deal is. But, it just shows you that AAU ball is not all that conducive to what the pros necessarily want. Kids get into college with some bad habits. And so it'll be interesting to see how the Bucks go forward. But,
So I got one more quick.
Go for it.
With Tom Izzo breaking the record, Bob Knight's most wins in the Big Ten. Receiver defer, Tom Izzo is the best Big Ten basketball coach of all time now.
I think he's right up in there, but I don't know if I could sit here and say he's the best of all time. I think he's been very good. I think there's a lot of other good ones that have had shorter tenure. Bill Self was at Illinois. If he'd have stayed in the Big Ten, who knows where he might be, but he's right there. I mean, he'd probably top 3.
Is it still between him and Bobby Knight?
Yeah, Bobby Knight. Bobby Knight was a great coach. He was an oddball character, but he was a great coach.
Because how much do you factor? I got like a minute left here. We talk about the NIL and the transfer portal, and that's what Izzo is going through right now. Compared to the other, like Bobby Knight had never had to go through this.
Yeah, and he's never had a fall off. His teams really haven't fallen off that much. So, yeah, he's going to be one of the top 2 or 3. There's no question about it. And he deserves that. He's a good coach, and he makes winners. He makes lemonade out of some sour lemons once in a while. So I think he's very good. And I don't think, in this NIL deal, I never would have said this before, but I'm just renewed admiration for Greg Gard.
Yeah.
I really do have renewed admiration for Greg Gard.
Who would have thought 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, we'd be sitting here saying you're more confident in Greg Gard than Luke Fickell right now?
Oh, by far.
Right?
And you look at the way, and Gard has changed. When he came in with Bo Ryan's offense, 55, 60 points. Now they've had games that have had that at halftime. They're going to have the highest average, I think, ever for a Wisconsin team.
So they're on pace. 1970 team had the highest at 86 points per game. They're right now at about 83.
Yeah.
So that puts it's like the fact that we're saying they're a top 25 scoring team in the country, and that's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of D1 teams out there.
And if Stephen Crowell, I don't know what he did to Stephen Crowell the other day, but if Stephen Crowell can give him anything in the middle, rebounding, defense, offense, this team can go a ways.
I didn't know who that big guy was that had 20 points and 7 rebounds in that game. I was like, that's not Stephen Crowell.
All right. But it's fun to watch.
It is. All right, intern. You have a good rest of your day, sir.
Right. Stay warm.
Yes. We've got Jake coming up in about a half hour. Last call for those outdoor questions. We'll be back after these news updates. Here we go. Final hour on this Thursday morning. A big thanks for tuning in wherever, however you are tuning in this morning. We're going to talk some Packers coming up here in just a second. I want to talk about what am I trying? Salary cap. Excuse me. I had a brain fart there. The salary cap got some numbers out there for us, kind of some projections of what salary cap is going to be like. Potentially some good news for the Packers and the 31 other teams out there when it comes to free agency. We'll explain that coming up here in a second. We spent a big chunk of the morning talking some Brewers with Mark Attanasio. Really interesting piece by Ken Rosenthal from The Athletic. And for you Brewers fans who have had issues with Mark and maybe not spending more, you'd probably like that piece. So if you don't have a subscription, maybe worth paying the dollar to get it. But Ken's definitely on your side if you feel like Mark has not been an owner who has maybe done enough in terms of financial stuff to build a team to compete for a World Series. In fact, we put up a poll question on my X feed at DANKASPER. I asked, what are your feelings towards Brewers owner Mark Attanasio? 19% of you saying positive, 57.1% of you saying negative, 23.8% of you saying it changed from a positive to a negative. I put that one in there because it's honestly the category I'm in right now, because I think when he first came in, the first few years, there was a lot of enthusiasm. Team gets to the playoffs. They're consistently getting in the playoffs. But I think in the last few years, this change towards maybe some more negative feelings towards him has kind of really spiked up amongst Brewers fans. And I think a lot of it is, why haven't they gone out there and gotten a bat a couple years ago when their pitching was really good? Or like this offseason, why haven't they gotten, another infielder that provides a little bit more power at third base? So there's been that the last few years. And I think it's gotten to a point where, a lot of Brewers fans are, for one, grateful, happy, excited that the team has been competitive and in contention for playoff spots. But I think for a lot of fans, it's gotten to a point where it's like, okay, great, but now we're to the next level. We got to that first level, like, okay, we're in the postseason, we're competing for division championships and such, but now we want a World Series trophy. And I think for some fans, Mark has fallen a bit short of that, and in terms of investing and maybe pushing up that payroll a little bit to help to put the team in a better situation to maybe compete for those World Series. They're not going to be the Dodgers or the Mets or the Yankees or anything like that in terms of money spending, but we'll see how it goes in the next few years, I guess. But I don't have a whole lot of optimism that payroll is going to increase and such. So, all right, we've got. So get your thoughts coming. If you got anything that you want to chime in about Mark Attanasio, you can hit me up with a text on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line, 715-830-1912, or comment on the video streams. And if you got X and Twitter, you can go vote over there. God, I'm getting a bunch of brain farts here right now. I'm getting sidetracked here because I've got a couple texts coming through here. I got to minimize that. So we'll get back to that Brewers in a second here. We got Jake Boakes, Outdoor Conservation Warden Jake Boakes, coming up in about 20 minutes. So again, last call. You have to text in your questions now so I can get them to Jake. If you have any questions, snowmobile trails, ice fishing, whatever the case may be, send those over to me now so I can ask those to Jake. Let's first chat a little football here. So yesterday, it was reported that the NFL informed teams that the 2025 per team salary cap will fall in the range of $277.5 million to $281.5 million, way up from last year's $255.4 million. So you're talking about a potential cap increase from 20, 30, $25 million from last year to this upcoming offseason. So on first blush, you're thinking, all right, Green Bay is going to have that much more money to spend in the offseason, more free agents, this, that. Yeah, they're going to have more money. 31 other teams are going to have more money, though, too, to spend. So that's the other part. But here's a nugget, and this was from Bill Huber from SI, who covers the Packers. Maybe a little bit of a nugget, and maybe just kind of setting the stage for this offseason. And I'll admit, this escaped my mind. So glad to see this. But so right now the Packers have the 11th most salary cap. I mean, they got a good chunk. They got a good chunk of salary cap space available. But in 2026, as of right now, the Packers rank among the teams with the least amount of cap available. Only 6 teams, according to Bill Huber, have less cap space based on the current accounting, which again could all change. And a reason for that is Jordan Love's contract, Rashawn Gary, Kenny Clark, Xavier McKinney, Elton Jenkins, Josh Jacobs. Their cap number is going to go up. Now, 2026, that salary cap, again, is going to probably go up, knock on wood, unless we have another pandemic or something like that. But it's probably going to go up. And we just saw this year's cap went up 20, 30. That doesn't mean it's going to go up $20 to $30 million potentially next year, but chances are the cap is going to go up. Okay? So you got that. So don't freak out too much about 2026 at this point. Be like, oh, gosh, they're not going to have anything. But maybe something to kind of keep in mind when it comes to this offseason, because maybe this is the offseason that they're going to try to lock up Zach Tom long-term, for example. But an increase in cap space, agents know this. Agents are going to pay attention to this. And they're going to see this and be like, oh, okay, so teams got more cap space. The value of my player also just went up. The value of Zach Tom just went up. With the salary cap going up, that number went up. So that's the other side of this. It's not as simple as more money to spend for Green Bay. Now things may cost a little bit more. May cost a little bit more for some of those free agents too. Or pending free agents for next year, like a Zach Tom. Just to kind of throw that out there a little bit. So, and maybe it means it'll cost more for a guy like Josh Myers. You know, the center for the Packers who's hitting free agency this year. And I think that's something, you know, maybe kind of like a John Runyon. That's the comparison that a lot of people are throwing out there, is that, you know, is Josh Myers kind of like John Runyon last year, where Packers let him go out and get his value. And he got a very big offer from the Giants that I think was like, yeah, okay, Green Bay wasn't going to do that. Good for Runyon. He got a big payday from the Giants. It just takes one team to do that. One team may be willing to offer quite a bit more for Josh Myers than what Green Bay's willing to do. And now with the increase in salary cap, teams are going to have more to spend, but the value of those players are going to go up too. The value of guys like, you know, I was reading yesterday, Jamar Chase, for a wide receiver. Jamar Chase might be looking at $40 million per year. $40 million per year. And they still want to keep T. Higgins. So Justin Jefferson is about $35 million per year right now. CeeDee Lamb is about 34. A.J. Brown, 32. And we know, I think Devontae Smith he's got a decent sized contract too. Yeah, here's Devontae. Let me bring it up here. Devontae Smith. So the Eagles have A.J. Brown, who's got the third highest contract when we talk about average per year. We're just talking about average per year. We're not talking about total value and anything like that. So A.J. Brown's got 32. And then, Devontae Smith's 25. And they had Saquon. Jalen Hurts has a big contract. They won a Super Bowl. So it's possible for everybody saying you can't pay all these receivers. You can't pay like 2 receivers for a lot of money. Have a running back that's got a good contract and a quarterback with a big contract. Eagles just show that. How they do it? Well, you draft well and you hit on some other bargain free agent signings like Zach Bond, for crying out loud. So it's possible. It absolutely is possible. But Jamar Chase averaging $40 million per year. I don't know what T. Higgins' value is going to be. I mean, but I got to imagine T. Higgins is going to want at least something $30-some million. So, I mean, if you're the Bengals, you've got Joe Burrow, and they want to keep Trey Hendrickson too. But you're talking, what, $75 million on average per year between 2 wideouts if you really want to keep both those guys? Whew, that's a lot of money invested in just a couple spots. Dang. Yikes. I don't know how they're going to do it. But if they want it, they'll probably figure it out somehow. It's going to have to come at the repercussions from some other positions that are out there. Man. Kind of makes, I don't know, Debo's contract of 24 per year on average a bargain at this point. Mike Evans, 20.5 per year. Jeez. Where's the highest paid Packer receiver currently right now? I'm looking on Over the Cap right now. Where's that coming in? It's got to be like Christian Watson, right? Yeah, Christian Watson. The highest. Is this for this year? Got to be. Christian Watson is the highest paid Packer receiver right now. If we go per year average, which doesn't tell you the whole value of a contract, but just to make things simple here, Christian Watson's the highest, and it's like, where did it go? It was 3-something, 3.2. I think it was 3.2. Where did it go here? I'll have to find it. But not even 3.2. 2.3. 2.3. Christian Watson's the highest one on an average per year. My Lord. That is just unbelievable. Where's Romeo's got to be up in here too. Yeah, Romeo Dobbs, 1.09. 1.09. Good gravy. Then Dontavian Wicks is up there. Jayden Reed's got to be up there too. Man. So contract numbers for wide receivers just absolutely exploding. And then you got the Dolphins, who've got Tyreek Hill with $30 million average per year and Jalen Waddle at $28.3 million per year. Unbelievable. All right, let's catch up on a few texts here. We got Tim in the Cooley region saying, positive to negative, we are one bad GM away from being the Pirates. We've been lucky to have some great general managers. Eric saying, positive to negative for me. I thought he did a good job initially coming in, making the team relevant, competing for playoff spots, but expectations have changed. Still thankful that we get to go to the playoffs, but want a little bit more. And I think he has been holding this team back with his inability to open up the checkbook from taking that next level. One texter says, negative. I felt like he should have been spending more in the last few years, and he hasn't been doing that. That is from Jeff on our texting line. Another texter, Tom, saying, positive to negative. On the positive side, I appreciate him helping build the Brewers to a perennial playoff contender, but I feel like they've been coming up short in these postseason games because of his unwillingness to spend just a little bit more to either get an extra bat or to get another pitcher. Quick updates on the poll here. 19% say positive, 57.1% say negative, 23.8% say change from a positive to a negative. That's where I'm at. I'm at a positive to a negative. And honestly, I think if not to disagree with a lot of the voters and such, but I honestly feel like if you would go back to the 2000s, the early 2000s, and the early teens, and that '08 season to finally get to the postseason, 2011, those stretches. I feel like a lot of people would have been happy with Mark Attanasio. I know for a fact a lot of people were happy with Mark Attanasio. I heard it. I saw it at Game 5 when they flashed his face on the screen and he got the loudest cheer. So I think if you really thought about it and went back to those early years, be like, yeah, I was pretty happy. We were getting to the postseason. We made a trade for CC Sabathia. We had these guys. 2011, we were doing some moves and we signed some guys and going for it and such. And maybe some people will just give more credit to a Doug Melvin at that point. Maybe so. Maybe some will give more credit to it, David Stearns and that. But he still has to sign off on some of those moves. So I think if you really thought about it earlier on in those early seasons, there's probably a little bit more of a positive mindset to it. But I would agree with the fans that are disappointed in the last few years. I would agree with that. I mean, I feel like it's becoming a tradition for us Brewers fans, whether it's in the offseason or during the season, and we approach that trade deadline, when we're like clamoring, make a move, get a bat, get another pitcher. Why are we getting rid of Josh Hader? It's a tradition these last few years. It's been a tradition again this year in the offseason. What has been one of the major talking points? Third base. Why aren't we getting a third base? We need more power coming from third base. We're not doing anything over there. Why aren't we doing anything over there? Right? 2 years ago, it was the same thing. Why aren't we getting more? We got great pitchers. We got great pitchers, and a lot of fans wanted the Brewers to that year. Maybe, all right, we're only going to have Corbin for one more year and Brandon Woodruff, and, we got these guys. Let's just push our chips in the middle for one chance, one opportunity. And they didn't do it. And I'm sure if the Brewers start off hot again this year and they're, leading the division or in the thick of it, and we get to that trade deadline and it's clearly obvious that they could use another bat, we're going to have the same conversation. Are they going to make a move? Are they not going to make a move? How they should make a move? Why they shouldn't make a move? It's going to be the same thing. And then once the trade deadline comes to pass, and they don't make a move, there's going to be frustrations about it all over the place. All right, we got to take a quick break. We'll do some outdoor chats with Jake Blokes. He's coming up after these quick words.
card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code EARN for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code EARN for a 25 cents per gallon bonus.
Tractor Central is hiring. Western Wisconsin's home for John Deere is looking to add to our team of service professionals. If you know someone with exceptional customer service skills and knowledge of the lawn and garden or agricultural equipment industry, Tractor Central is looking for service technicians as well as parts and equipment sales. At Tractor Central, you'll have a full benefit package. And with 10 locations around Western Wisconsin, opportunity for growth and advancement. Find more information, see all current openings, and apply online at tractorcentral.com.
It's a John Deere day.
Hey, sports fans, Joe DeGuano here. You know, sometimes you just want to go to that place where everybody knows your name. Courthouse in downtown Eau Claire is that place for me. When I'm not talking sports with Dan in the morning, you can probably find me on a bar stool at Courthouse. Aside from the rotating specials that always hit the spot, my favorite thing about Courthouse is the service. Whether it's Hannah or Jason or whoever, every time I'm there, no matter who is bartending, they know exactly what I want even before I do. Whether it's my vodka gimlets made with love or hams in a frosted mug. It's always exactly what I need after a long day. So if you're looking for that place where everyone truly does know your name, make Court and House your go-to spot. They've got what you need. Cold beer, the best fish fry in town, service that makes you feel at home. Oh, and my personal favorite, the Old Abe Burger. And hey, next time you're at Court and House, if you happen to spot me, once again, your first one's on me. Court and House, downtown Eau Claire, Grand Avenue.
For over 50 years, Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine has been Western Wisconsin's trusted leader in orthopedic care. Whether you're facing bone and joint pain, sports injuries, chronic conditions, or complex brain and spine issues, their expert team is dedicated to helping you live pain-free. And now they're expanding their commitment to your health with their brand new state-of-the-art facility in Rice Lake. Imagine having everything you need in one convenient location. Clinic visits, advanced imaging like MRI, and personalized physical therapy, all under one roof. Plus, now they're connected to Cedar Crest Ambulatory Surgery Center, making it easier than ever to get the care you need when you need it. The staff is dedicated to providing compassionate, high-quality care you deserve right in your community. Call Chippewa Valley Orthopedics today at 715-832-1400 or visit them online at cvosm.com. Get back to doing what you love, pain-free. Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine, where high-quality care meets hometown commitment.
In our corner of Wisconsin, we tend to get overlooked sometimes by our favorite sports teams. Sure, once in a while, a local bar will get a shout out or a team tour will make a quick stop, but we are just as passionate about our Packers, Bucks, Badgers, and Brewers as everyone else. That's why we've created the 715 Fan Cave. It's a place for fans to gather and talk sports and show their love for their favorite teams. For more info, just visit sportstalk1051.com.
We've got picks and predicts coming up here, which we will definitely be doing the USA versus Canada hockey game. And I want to throw out this question to all of you to participate in our predicts. How many fights? Let's put the line at 1.5. Over under 1.5 for the amount of fights tonight. Text them on over at 715-830-1912. Before we get to that, though, it's time to catch up with our good buddy, Mr. Jake Boakes, DNR Warden, Conservation Warden for the great state of Wisconsin. Jacob, how you doing this morning, bud?
I'm doing good, and I'll take the under on that.
You going to take the under on it? Do you think they got it all out of their system the first game?
I think they did. I think they'll want to win now. Someone will do it to get the momentum going for the team, but I think they probably want to win now. Someone wants to win, and in critical situations, probably not the best time to throw hands if you need a goal.
Mm-hmm. I feel like, yeah, too, it's like it's going to be a little bit more tempered down in this game than it was the last one.
But I don't know if any of us really expected last week. So
that's true.
See what happens, huh?
Yeah, that's true. So, dude, I mean, it's been a couple weeks, but a lot of stuff has been happening in the last couple weeks. The big one, we got a lot of trails opened up now because of the snow, right?
Yeah, there are. There's no doubt there's more trails open than there were 2 weeks ago, but locally it's still kind of hit or miss. So If you're going north, if you're going a little bit east, you got a lot more opportunity. Dunn County's got some open trails, and there's some Chippewa County open. But you definitely want to, kind of like we talked about, is do your due diligence, and wherever you're going, make sure you know that their trail system is open by going to the county websites or, Googling that county online. And then another thing people forget about is like Googling or making sure they are aware of like the neighboring counties are open. So a lot of trail systems, you end up going through other counties and such. So you want to make sure those are open as well.
Has it been, I saw them on Facebook, like all the counties announcing, trail openings and such. So when you see that from your job perspective, how does that change maybe like a schedule for you, because you have to adjust on the fly with all the different trail openings and such?
Yeah, it's it's part of the job. You're used to kind of adjusting on the fly. A lot of times it's exciting for us too, because we have our machines, our state machines that we take out to patrol and make contacts with people. So it changes a little bit, but a lot of times it's like instead of going on lakes checking fishermen, you're gonna start getting all your snowmobile gear together and go ride the trails where it's busy and stuff like that. So not too crazy, but it does change it a little bit.
What is, now that we've got some trails open and such, maybe what are some general reminders or safety ones, or maybe some of the common violations that perhaps you guys see out there, just to kind of give a refresher to everybody?
Yeah. So the most common violations are always going to be licensing and registration. It seems like for any activity in Wisconsin, fishing, hunting, off-highway motor vehicles. So like making sure that you have your snowmobile registered to the, so it's good for this year, as well as having a trail pass on your machine. Other than that, a lot of people roll through stop signs or blatantly just rip through them. So you always want to make sure you follow all the posted signs, whether it's a stop sign, a yield sign, or whatever sign, a mile per hour or a speed sign. You got to follow all those signs. But then something else that we generally see when we're out patrolling is just a careless operation. So when you're on the trails, you're supposed to, maintain a safe operating speed, as well as, operating on your side, the right side of the trail. What we see a lot is people, and I get it, snowmobiles are fun, and these new ones, you can really send it. But you see people on these straightaways, going across the intersection or coming up on these blind hills, just coming way too fast, which is how head-on collisions happen. Or on tight curves in the woods, people are taking them, they're overtaking the oncoming lane and hitting people they don't see. So the careless operation is a big thing we look for. Riding off the trails is huge too. A lot of these trails go through private properties, and private property owners get pretty upset when they drive past their field and they see a couple random tracks ripping off through their winter crops or off on their private property where people aren't allowed, and that's how trail systems get closed. So you got to stay on the trails as well.
Yeah, good stuff there too. So, also, I know it's, February, we're getting close to the end of February here, but maybe talk a little bit about some of the fish and game seasons that are closing up in a few weeks.
Yeah, so it's hard to believe because it feels like it's finally winter time, but a lot of the game fish seasons close that first weekend in March. So the first weekend in March comes right away this year, with Saturday, Sunday being March 1st and 2nd. So a lot of the inland game fish season closes. So your bass, northern, walleye, stuff like that, closes that Sunday. So you can fish that last weekend, and then it's then you're done until I think like May 4th or something like that this year. I don't know when it opens back up, but for sure I know, it closes that first weekend in March. There are other opportunities still in the state, outlying water bodies, and even the Chippewa River south of Eau Claire, and south of the confluence. That is actually a year-round season, so you can fish that year-round. But you got to be mindful. So if you're out on like Lake Altoona, after March 2nd, and you got tip-ups up, probably going to be in violation.
That's coming up pretty quick then. Holy moly.
Yeah, only a couple weeks away. That's why when I looked at it, I was like, holy buckets. I just invited some friends to come fishing that weekend, and that's how I kind of put two and two together. We're going to do some tip-up fishing that Saturday, and I was looking at pigs, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it ends that weekend. I'm glad I invited them out that weekend. And
Yeah, no kidding. Like I was actually just the other day too, and I know this is a little less than a month away, but I was like the bonus tags for turkey hunting is middle of March, but I was like, oh, that's going to be it's less than a month away right now. So
like you said, before we know it, that will drive this conversation.
mm-hmm.
We'll be talking about spring hunting and the water opening up and this and that, especially with the weather projected next week. I haven't looked at the projections in a couple of days, but if we're getting 44-degree weather starting next week, the snowmobile trails are going to close and snow is going to melt, and it's really going to start feeling like spring unless we have another cold snap. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, no question. And that's the other thing too. I know there were some people saying, well, with all the snow, with the trails, how come maybe some aren't open? But the whole grooming process, I mean, it doesn't take a whole lot to get down to the bottom and kind of rip up the ground, right?
Oh yeah, no, it's you need a lot of snow to make a good base, and you really need the right kind of snow for these groomers. So a lot of those snowstorms we got, especially around the Chippewa Valley, it was a lot of that light, fluffy snow. And when you have light, fluffy snow, it either blows away, or when you go to groom it, pack it down, it doesn't pack very good and it doesn't pack very thick. So a lot of the trails didn't open for the simple fact of that you couldn't really put anything down. So there's some areas I haven't even seen the groomers out, and rightly so. And then I've still seen some sled tracks on there, and you can see them already ripping down to the dirt. So that's why a lot of them didn't open. It's just we got some snow, but it wasn't a ton of snow, and it wasn't the right kind of snow.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Jake,
we really needed
sorry.
Oh no, sorry. I was just gonna say we really needed a big snowstorm to dump some good heavy stuff on us, and we never got that.
Mm-hmm. I've been seeing some photos. Is sturgeon still going on? Did they fill that quota for spear? Do you know off the top of your head?
I didn't check, but I didn't hear that it closed. Usually
Okay.
I get an updated email, but I haven't heard that it closed, and I'm pretty sure the water clarity was pretty poor this year. I think they even had some registration stations closed because no one was spearing over there because the quality was so bad. So I would assume that everything's still open. The upriver lakes might be closed because that usually closes after a week or so. But I would assume that it's probably going to be a full 2-week season out on Lake Winnebago.
Okay. So yeah, I was kind of
I saw a picture of what appears to be the fourth biggest ever sturgeon speared out there this year, which was a whopper of a fish, like 180 pounds, I think.
Oh yeah, I did see that too. Didn't some lady get that or something?
Yeah, it looks like a woman speared it. I don't know all the details, but I saw a ton of stuff on it, and it I don't know what it was eating, but it looked like it just swallowed a smaller sturgeon before that. I think there was one almost as long as it hanging, but this thing had twice the girth on it. So good for that fish. Good for that woman, I should say.
Yeah, no kidding. Jake, anything else before I let you go here that you want to kind of throw out there?
No, the big thing would just be kind of like we started the conversation with the snowmobile trails. Like, make sure you have everything right. Make sure you have your helmet and everything. We've had a lot of accidents and drownings with UTVs on lakes this year and stuff like that. So you really want to be mindful of the ice. But that warm weather next week, I can guarantee, especially around here, is going to close probably all the trails that are even open because they're not in great condition. So if you're going to go ripping sleds this week, and especially next week, you got to double check the county website to make sure they're open. It's a quick way to get a trespassing citation from either us or the sheriff's department.
Mm-hmm. Good note. Jake, hey, we appreciate the time as always, buddy. Enjoy the rest of your week, and I guess kind of stay warm for now, but then maybe cool down later on, vice versa.
Yeah, no, it should be fun. I'm taking my son to the Monster Jam this weekend in
Nice.
Minnesota, so we'll have something to talk about next week.
Heck
I'm excited.
yeah.
He's excited, so we're gonna go see that.
Well, that makes it even better then too. So,
Should be a good weekend.
Dude, appreciate it, man. We'll catch up with you next week. Okay, sir?
Yep, have a good one.
You got it. Jake Boakes, conservation warden for the state of Wisconsin, for our outdoor chats here this morning. All right, let's take a quick break. We've got some picks and predicts. We've got Bucks in action tonight. We've got USA versus Canada hockey. If we set that line at 1.5 fights, how many you got? Wrapping things up here this morning. Let's do some picks and predicts. Brought to you by the Elbow Room, located right here in Eau Claire. By the way, with picks and predicts, don't forget you can pre-sign up right now, pre-register for our bracket challenge. We're going to have more details to come, but a little teaser. We're going to have a little the Friday of the tournament, the first Friday of the tournament. Got a little something we're working on. So pay attention to that. But you can head to our website right now, sportstalk1051.com, and pre-register for our very popular bracket challenge right now. Obviously, you can't make picks because we don't know what the bracket is, but you can sign up right now. It's free. It's simple. Very easy bracket challenge up there. So go ahead and do that. Let's do some picks and predicts. We'll start off with the NBA. We've got we know the Bucks are in action tonight, but we got a bigger slate than what we had last night, which is Charlotte and the Lakers. Memphis at Indiana. I'm gonna go with the Grizzlies. Boston at Philly. Give me Boston. Atlanta or Orlando at Atlanta. I'm gonna go with the Magic in this one. Let's do Charlotte at Denver. Denver's gonna win that one. Phoenix at San Antonio. I'm gonna go San Antonio. I know Phoenix is favored, but I'm gonna go San Antonio. And then let's do Clippers at the Bucks. And the Clippers are favored by 1.5 in this game, but I am gonna go with the Bucks. I'm gonna go with the Bucks in this one. So, do we have? Let me. I know last night we had Kentucky taking down Vanderbilt, Auburn taking down Arkansas, but Arkansas covered. Missouri had the upset last night, taking down Alabama, number 15, Missouri, taking on number 4, Alabama. Did you guys see, by the way, the Missouri coach rate was like 1.5 seconds left, grabbed the mic and told everybody to not storm the court. Don't storm the court. They listen. So they listen. We've got USC versus Maryland tonight. That's a little Big Ten action if we're paying attention to that one. I'm going to go Maryland for that game. We've got Northwestern at Ohio State. I'll go Ohio State. What else do we got here? Not a ton of great matchups. Just kind of scrolling through here. Yeah, that's probably about it for some college hoops here. All right, let's do the hockey one. I'm gonna go Team USA tonight in the Four Nations final. I'm going to go Team USA. By the way, tonight's 7 o'clock championship game. And I'm going under 1.5 fights. I think there might be one, but I don't know. I'm going to go under that. I think, championship game, kind of got out of their system. Maybe if it's a blowout from either team, maybe it's a blowout and maybe the frustrations kind of come through and we get to see a couple more fights tonight. But I'm going to go Team USA, and I'm going to take the under on the 1.5 for fights. All right, those are your picks and predicts brought to you by the Elbow Room. Mike had texted a little bit earlier. Good morning, Dan. It's my 65th birthday, and all I wanted for my birthday is to you have a great day. Packers win a Super Bowl. Bucks to win a championship. Brewers to take the World Series this year. Not asking for a lot. Anyway, go Pack. Have a great day. Well, happy birthday, Mike. Happy 65th birthday, man. Appreciate the text. And hopefully all those come true because I think everybody would love that for their birthday too. So big thank you for sending that. But have yourself hope you get spoiled today, Mike. Hope you get spoiled. All right, let's take a look at the final poll question. A lot of talk this morning about Mark Attanasio, not only for us, but it's going to be all over the place with some of his comments that he has made about, how roster construction, team building, et cetera, et cetera. So we asked, what are your feelings towards Brewers owner Mark Attanasio? Just according to the X poll, 17.4% of you say you have positive feelings towards Mark. 21.7% of you say it's changed from positive to negative. 60.9% of you are negative, though. So the Q rating for Mark Attanasio is not good. The public perception, the PR rating for Mark is not good. Not good at all. So I get, like, if I voted in this, I would be in the change from positive to negative. I appreciate what he has done as an owner for the Brewers during his tenure. I appreciate a lot of the stuff that he has done. The Brewers have won a lot of games during his tenure. We could debate who deserves more credit or not, but facts are, as he was owner, the Brewers won a lot of games, and they made a lot of postseason runs. But during that stretch, in my opinion, during that stretch, though, too, expectations change, okay? You got to a certain level. You increased that level. You increased the bar, right? You increased it. We're not just happy about making the postseason anymore like it was in 08. We've gone a few times, and we've hit a couple of NLCSs. We've been close a couple times to getting to the World Series, but now that so many fans have tasted that, have felt that, got a feel of plenty of playoff games, but then a lot of shortcomings in the playoff games. A lot of fans want a little bit more now. And they're looking to the owner to provide that in the way of money, moolah, signing players, acquiring players. And for a lot of fans, that has changed. That's changed. Or that for a lot of fans, they haven't gotten that, so their feelings have changed over the years. And I get it, because I'm probably there with you. I can't sit here and say it's always been negative from when, 2005 to now, because it hasn't been. It started off positive, but right now I'm kind of trending into the negative category. Because we've all said it the last few years. I mentioned earlier, it's kind of become a tradition when it comes to baseball season for the Brewers. When we're getting closer to the start of the season, we're talking about the offseason. We're talking about, well, they should have done this. They wish they would have gotten that guy or done a little bit more at that position. And then once we get in the season and they win ball games and we get to the trade deadline, it's like, okay, they need to get better here. They need to get a bat. They need to get a pitcher. They need to do this. A lot of times they don't. And then there's frustration again. And then when we get to the postseason, and if it's a quick in and out, there's that frustration again. Well, if they would have done this, if the owner would have been willing to do that, pay for that. It's a tradition the last couple of years. I don't want to discredit what he has done as an owner, because there's been a lot of good stuff. But I think you look at the last few years, there's been like, well, could you actually have done a little bit more? Could there have been a little bit more? And I don't think it's fair to have the same expectations as it is for, like, well, the Dodgers do this, so we should do this. No, it's not the same. It sucks, but it's not the same. I mean, ownership group there is different, and they got deeper pockets in that, more avenues for revenue. It's not the same. So it's not fair to ask for the same stuff that, Dodgers or Yankees or anything like that has. But I think, don't want to tell anybody how to spend their money and such, but I mean, if Brewers fans be like, okay, but maybe a little bit more? Could there have been a little bit more done to surround that team with some more talent? The thing that and maybe it's just something I gotta come to grips with, and that this is the expectation and this is how it's going to play out in for the Brewers for the foreseeable future, and for baseball for the foreseeable future. This is just maybe the way it's going to be, and that should be the expectation. Lower the expectations a bit, but if they exceed them, boy, what an awesome season then. Like, I hate to say that, but it's like, Green Bay, all right, Super Bowl championship expectations. That's the level we're at. Maybe we need to just lower that for the Brewers. Maybe the similarity was kind of like I don't know, Badger football back in the day. It was like, all right, get to the Big Ten championship game, win a Big Ten championship. Probably wasn't going to be a national championship, but then that kind of changed a little bit. I don't know. What do we have to lower those expectations for the Brewers when you factor in ownership? Doesn't have the pockets of the bigger teams, and just from what we've seen in the last few years. All right. We'll talk more about this with Brandon coming up tomorrow. Don't forget the first spring training game is this Saturday, so we'll actually have some games and such to talk about. So we'll talk some Brewers heading into that game and such tomorrow with B. We'll do some local sports roundup. A lot of playoff stuff getting ready to start, or regular seasons wrapping up, or playoffs going. I know Memorial Hudson hockey's going on tonight, so that should be a fantastic one as well. So we'll do some local sports roundup with Brandon tomorrow. Talk to Dr. Crow for a little inside the training room, and that. Also talk some hoops. Bucks are on a back-to-back. We'll see if the Bucks get the win tonight before taking on Chris Middleton. That's still weird to say, taking on Chris Middleton and the Wizards tomorrow night. So we'll hit that up as well, and maybe talk some more college hoops with that season starting to wrap up. The regular season starting to wrap up. That's hard, man. Next week's already March. Yeah, next weekend's already March. Ooh, Nelly. Coming at you. DPs, or I should say the day Patrick shows up next with fill-in guests. Have a good rest of your day. We'll be back at it tomorrow morning. Same place, same time, about 6 a.m. We'll chat with you all then.